Hello everyone, my name is Jared Altick and I'm a chaplain with the police department. The Hey Chaplain podcast brings you stories and wisdom about life in law enforcement, giving support and encouragement to those who wear the badge. This shouldn't surprise anyone, but cops want to catch bad guys. And when I talk to cops, they routinely tell war stories describing how they ran someone down, wrestled them into submission, and heroically made the arrest. Naturally, these fights occupy a lot of headspace. Officers spend time training for it. They carry equipment on their person every day for different levels of confrontation. And every time it happens, they risk serious injury or worse. I'm getting a good number of these stories in my collection, and I want to share a sampling of some of these fights and some of the experience that surrounds it. In this episode, you'll hear stories about foot pursuits and wrestling people on drugs. And you'll definitely hear the excitement of being in a fight, the rush of adrenaline, and the fulfillment of an officer's purpose to apprehend the bad guy. As exciting and even frightening as these fights can be, fighting discouragement can be just as challenging. So stay tuned to the end, where an officer reflects on why they do what they do.
Yeah, I was a patrol officer for Kansas City, Kansas Police Department from 1967 up until about 74.
I was a patrol officer at Overland Park Police Department in the early 2000s.
I was a patrolman at the Kansas City, Kansas Police Department in the early 2000s.
I was a patrolman at Kansas City, Kansas Police Department in the 2000 teens.
I was a police officer for 3 different departments in Southern California. And during that time, I was also a field training officer and a canine handler in the mid-20 teens.
I was a line officer with the Wyandotte County Sheriff's Department, back in the early 80s.
I was a patrolman. I was with Kansas City, Kansas from the early 90s to the early 2000s.
Yeah, I was a patrol officer for the Kansas City, Kansas Police Department from 94, the year I got hired, all the way to 2000.
Describe your first foot pursuit.
This is one of my favorite moments in life. It's literally my very first night on the street out of the academy. So my first night in the field training and evaluation program, okay, also known as the FTO program, field training officer program. I had a rookie FTO, so I was her first trainee ever, and so she was really excited. Great person, super nice, very organized, not real seasoned in violence, and she used to be a dare officer. And here she is, come back patrol to be an FTO, and she drew me, the Wyandotte County kid that's been watching foot pursuits and cops and done all this stuff. So my very first night, I couldn't have wrote this any better. I won't say it's our first call because I don't think it was our first call, but it was pretty early on in the evening. The bars were still open, and an officer calls for assistance. Not that he's getting hurt, but he needs some help because he found a guy with a warrant at a bar. And as soon as we pull up, so he was undercover doing a bar check, got somebody that was fake ID or something like that, ran him, finds out he's got a warrant. So we go to back him up. And we show up. Well, we're in a marked car in uniform. As he takes one look at us, and he's gone. And it's at 119th and Metcalf. Thousands of cars go through that intersection a day. And this was a busy part of the night. It's around midnight or so. What have I seen in my life? Somebody runs, we chase. So I bail out of the car before she even stops, and I'm off and running. I leave my FTO in the car, and she is shocked. She has no idea what to do, and I'm chasing this guy down the middle of 119th Street with cars going by me in both directions. He's running. I'm having the time of my life going, this is what I'm talking about. That's why I'm here. I'm here for this. I chase him for about 4 blocks and chase him into the edge of the perimeter, and he turns the corner, and there's our guys, and they snag him, and I'm just like fist pumping. I'm like, yeah, that's why I'm here. She comes over, and she just lights me up. And she, I can't believe you did that. Why'd you do that? And I said, bad guy ran, good guys chase. And she's kind of let me have it. Well, this seasoned veteran of a lieutenant was the watch commander, was out in the field that night. And when she turned her back, he high-fived me and goes, I heard about you.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a great story. What technique or equipment never worked as advertised in your experience?
I never cared much for the nylon batons that they had.
Okay.
We used to have wooden nightsticks, and they got rid of the wooden nightsticks and they got these nylon batons. And if you laid them up on the dash or they got in the sun, they warped. And
Really?
they looked like a pretzel. If they got real cold in the wintertime, they got brittle. And to me, personally, it was just a waste of time, a waste of money.
Okay.
The wooden nightstick, never had that problems with them.
Right.
In fact, they went back to the wooden nightsticks for a long time, and then they got rid of them and went to the collapsible batons. And a lot of people, some of them still carry them, but in the past few years, a lot of them have gone back to the wooden sticks again.
And the advantage of the wooden stick is that it is more durable. What other advantages to the wooden baton?
It's more durable and it's intimidating.
Yes, it is. Yeah, the ones in KCK are like small baseball bats.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because I made about 350 of them myself. They're a lot more durable, and it's the intimidation factor.
Yeah.
That's just like with the police riot guns, with the 870, which is a pump action shotgun. You get into a situation and you rack the action on that 870, it gets your attention.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that takes care of the problem.
It's a very good de-escalation technique.
Yes.
Yeah, it'd just be so intimidating that you just take the fight right out of them.
Exactly. And that's true to me, that's true with the nightstick. If you've got a big, long wooden, like you said, baseball bat hanging on your side, that's a lot more intimidating than a little bitty round thing that's half-inch in diameter and maybe 1.5 feet, 2 foot long. It's just a world of difference.
You know, as I said earlier, I try not to get physical if you can use what's between your ears. I never backed off of a confrontation, but, I tried to not escalate it either. But every now and then you'll have somebody that, they're going to take you on whether you like it or not, especially those that you bring in that's been on drugs. I remember one in particular. This guy was a little old beanpole, man. I mean, he wasn't any bigger than a pencil. And he was on PCP. And I don't know whether you've dealt with anybody on that stuff or not, but they don't feel pain. And I remember him, had him in cuffs, and I thought we were pretty secure. And he lifted his head, and I had on a pair of metal frame glasses at the time, and it drove those glasses clear through my nose. And so, we had to take him down. Again, I never tried to hurt anybody any more than I had to. When I took the oath, I took it very, very seriously. And I wasn't there to abuse anybody, but I was going home at night. That's one thing about it. So, I had to deal with him. I've had to deal with a lot of them through the years. We've had some pretty tough characters in there. I had one time when I was inside the jail and he was one of the prisoners, and he told me the next time that I went down the row to do my checks that he was going to kill me. And I told the fellow at the time, I said, look, you need to understand something. I says, this badge that I wear, I says, I took an oath. And I said, the day that I'm afraid to walk these aisles is the day that I'll turn this badge in because I'm not worthy of it anymore. And so I waited about 20 minutes, and then I went down there, and he's standing right in the lane, and I had to pass him, and I went ahead, and as a matter of fact, I took my time making my checks so that I could make a point. And I'll be real honest with you, I got a lot of respect from him after that.
Did you ever get in a fight? This wouldn't be a first fight, but did you ever get in a fight while you were a detective wearing civilian clothes versus a uniform?
Yeah. That's why people always, I dress nice, but I always wore like my boots shined. Mm-hmm. I buy like nice slacks at Walmart for $10-15, a nice button-down shirt.
Yeah.
And people go, some guys would come in these suit and ties like, well, I don't know why you do that, because sometimes you end up in a house going through stuff, or you end up tussling with somebody.
Yeah.
It's like, at least this way, if my shirt, my pants get ruined, it's like, okay, I've lost maybe $40, $50 for the whole thing. I always wear the clip-on. They go, why you wear that clip-on? It's like, because when you grab it, and I've had that happen to me, because back in the day, in the winter, you had to wear a tie with your uniform. Mm-hmm. And I've had a guy thinking, I'm going to grab this dude's tie and drag him to the ground. Well, he grabbed it and it came off in his hand. He kind of looked at me. I was like, yeah, that's right, buddy. Fight's on. I got you.
That's good. Describe your worst on-duty injury. You've had some doozies off-duty, but what's your worst on-duty injury?
Now, this might be able to fall back into one of the craziest fights I've had.
Okay.
So we got a call, out-controlled juvenile. Most of the times when we get this call, the out-controlled juvenile, it's usually a simple, you talk to them, you get them to calm down, you rationalize with them, and you move on your way. Other times, they don't want anything to do with it, and they want to take, the parents or grandparents want to take the child to a juvenile intake and assessment center.
Okay.
This was a case, it was a grandparent or grandparents and a 16-year-old girl, out of control. Parents didn't know how to handle her. We kind of gave her the, hey, we're going to take you into custody, transfer you down, juvenile being out of control, and we'll go from there. Our child needed care. And this turned into a fight between the other officer and I and the juvenile.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it started off in the juvenile's bedroom, and we're talking. We're in a trailer, so we don't have a whole lot of room to work. So it started inside the trailer, her room inside the trailer, came out to the hallway, ended up busting into the bookshelf that was there, into the computer table that was there, and we finally got this lady to where she was on her stomach, and we were trying to pull her hands out from underneath her. Well, I had reached in with one of my arms to try to grab it out, and she ended up biting me. She bit me right on the meaty part of my hand between the index finger and thumb. Quickly after that, I think she realized what she had just did, and we got the hands back into handcuffs, and we were able to get her transported. But the amount of time spent at the hospital was nearly not worth the 5-second bite that it was, because you had to go to the hospital and then they do blood work, or they clean your wound up, and then you go do blood work for like every 6 months afterwards for like 2 years.
Oh, wow.
To see if you've been infected with anything.
Right.
And then you got like the cocktail of pills to take to prevent an infection of some sort. That's been the craziest on-duty injury that I've had.
Describe your worst on-duty injury.
Well, probably my worst one, and it wasn't, I was fortunate. I never received too many severe injuries, but probably the worst one was a 17-year-old girl biting my hand, almost bit my thumb off.
Oh, wow.
I had to get several stitches in my thumb. That was probably the worst one for me, and I wanted so bad to hit the young lady, but there was too many people standing around, and I really didn't have justification, because it doesn't look that bad if she's biting your thumb.
Yeah.
But it certainly hurt.
Yes. You're the second officer I've had have the exact same adolescent female bite you in the hand.
Oh, yes.
So, yeah. Okay. Describe your first foot pursuit.
It was let's see. No, that wasn't the very first one. Probably the most notable one. The very first one was really nothing. But the most notable one was I was working downtown on midnights, and I used to chew Copenhagen loose.
Okay.
And we had chased this guy for we believed was a robbery, and he crashed his car, and he taken off on foot. And back then I could actually run because I was young and nimble and not old and slow and bad knees. And I get out of the car and I take off running, and I instantly swallowed that whole fresh plug of Copenhagen, and I made it about 30 steps, and it's all coming out. And the sergeant's like, "You got him? Do you got him?" I'm like, "No, I don't." And he comes around the corner, and somebody else snatched him up when we got him. And he's like, "What happened to you?" And I'm still puking. And he's like, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, "I swallowed a whole dip of Copenhagen." He goes, "Oh." So he tries to give me some of his wintergreen something else. I'm like, "Oh." Like, that was mean.
That's a good way to learn how to quit.
Yeah, it was horrible. And now even the smell of like loose leaf almost still turns my stomach.
That's a good story. Yeah. All right. Do you have a particular fight that did stick out from the others?
Yeah, I can remember one where we tried to take a guy into custody that was on PCP, which is like a drug that makes somebody very strong and violent. It was one of those fights where there's 5 of us on one guy just rolling around, getting flung off by superhero powers, and we ended up getting him into custody. But I think everybody had an arm and a leg and controlling the head and the neck, trying to get the body to go with it. It was pretty good. It was a good scuffle in the middle of the intersection. Wow. And the guy was naked too. So
they're always naked. Yes.
Yeah. Sweaty and naked. So, yeah.
Good. All right. Describe your first foot pursuit.
I can't remember what I was looking for this gentleman for, but I know there's a very short car pursuit where he jumped out of the car and then started running on foot. And we ran multiple blocks, weaving in. I'm on my little handheld saying, "Okay, we're going north here." And I'm thinking, I was in really good shape at the time, and I'm making sure I'm articulating. I'm calling out all the streets. I know exactly where I'm at. And I'm like, and we're running. And probably about getting close to a half mile into this foot pursuit, I'm like, where is everybody at? I should have people coming to help me out. And there's still nobody there. Well, he's starting to get tired, and luckily, because I was in good shape, I ended up catching him. I tackled him. I put him in a pair of handcuffs, and I'm like, and I start to get on my radio. I'm like, "Hey, I'm here." And then I look down, and that whole time I'm running, I didn't turn my radio on.
Oh no!
So I'm sitting here calling all this out, but nobody's coming because nobody knows what I'm doing. And then I was like, well, I can get mad if I want, but it's my fault. So luckily everything turned out just fine. Yeah. As soon as I got on there and turned it on, I had people there helping me. And that was, again, back at the early part of the career, so I didn't really have to worry about, foot pursuits, reports, because there's no such thing about those back then, okay? Yeah. Those came in later on in my career. But, yeah it was just, hey, wake up, dummy.
That's excellent. Describe the first fight you were in.
Well, let's see. Oh, I can't remember. Honestly, I can't remember my first fight. But I can tell you some early in my career that were pretty interesting. So one of them, we got sent to a family disturbance where the family asked for help for a guy that was acting erratic. Okay. Not assuming anything, but just they're saying erratic. They just wanted some help getting him out. Okay, so we go to it. It's up on 75th Street. And I'm the first one at the door, and it's me and a sergeant, and I'm confident in him. He's confident in me. And so we go ahead and go. And the backup's coming, but we go ahead and knock on the door. And I'm a point guy. I'm right up front. And the family answers the door. Like 3 of them answer the door at once, and they're blocking the door. Well, they're talking quietly because they don't want the guy that we're there for to hear him talking. And they're going, "He's inside. And we need him out of here. And we think he's high." I was like, "Oh, okay." Well, as he's talking to him, all of a sudden he pops up behind him. I was kind of like, whoa, there, he's right there. And he's like, officer, I'm glad you're here. I need your help. I said, okay. Let's say, what can we do for you? And so we go on inside, and now we're inside. The backup shows up. So there's 3 of us in there. And we decide we got to get this guy out because we figure out he's done some things. He's threatened some people. But we also figure out he's hiring a kite. And while he's talking to us, we could tell his body temperature is going. He's starting to sweat profusely. He's got his shirt off now. We're like, okay, he's high on wet. This is a little excited delirium kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. But we got to get him out of here. And as soon as we go to put it, and he complies and puts his hands behind his back. But as soon as that second cuff started to go on, he pulled apart and shoved one guy. And so I go to grab him. And this guy was so strong that he gets his arms around my chest and shoves me. And I actually come off the ground. Unfortunately, landed on the couch. But the cool thing was I wasn't just like, oh, goodness, call for help or nothing. First, I trusted the guys I was there with. I thought, oh, okay, the fight's on now. The playbook is open because he just threw me across the room, and he's under arrest. So we're doing whatever we got to do. Mm-hmm. And it took 5 of us to get this guy under control, and he was still tossing us around, and he's trying to swing at us and punch on us.
Oh, wow.
We're doing all kinds of things that trying to get him under control with different strikes and stuff. And finally we get him down. It took one of us on each limb and then one person to handcuff him.
Did you have OC spray or anything like that at that point?
Yeah, it was ineffective, but we didn't use much. We probably could have used more, but it was a quick spray to his eyes. Mm-hmm. He closed them and turned away, and then the rest of us were like, no, we're all in here.
Yeah.
And
indoors.
Right.
Yeah.
And flailing around, it's just going to bounce off and hit us all. So we were just like, no, and you got not much more than a few coughs.
Yeah.
And but we finally got him under control and got him out. But that was being thrown across the room. And you look at him, you're like, he can't throw me across the room. But man, they get powerful onto that kind of stuff.
Yeah. What kind of worst experience or something like that made you feel like you wanted to quit?
It wasn't probably a singular incident. It was probably just a culmination of a lot of the same things over and over again. And primarily it was we were running, 27, 30 calls a night, just back to back to back to back. And, we're going to the same addresses over and over and over again. And it's just the feeling that, what are we doing on here? We're not making a difference. These people are still in the same terrible situations they were in. We can take people to jail. They can be convicted. They're back out 6 months later, and here we go again. It's the same thing. It's the same domestic. It's the same man beating the same woman. It is the same child being neglected. It is, and that's another thing. You go in some of these situations, and probably no fault of the parents, but the children just living in these horrendous, terrible conditions that we could have pulled, 20 kids a night out of houses, but we had no place to take them. Mm-hmm. And all that culmination, when you do the job and when you take the job, for the reasons I took the job, is it was the stereotypical, I want to make a difference in the world. You learn very quickly that's not going to happen. You're going to be lucky to make a difference on an individual call in an individual's life. And that's what kept me from not quitting, was that I realized, okay, I'm not saving the world. I'm not even saving a city block. I'm not saving a neighborhood. But maybe I can intervene in this one particular situation and make his life better for this abused woman or this abandoned child. Or if I can, arrest this gentleman on the corner who's been, boofing, smoking crack all day long. If I can get him into a situation where maybe he can get some help, when you break it down to an individual basis, I can make a difference in an individual's life. That made a much more realistic goal. And that's what kept me from quitting.
To all the officers who prepared themselves to fight the good fight, thank you. Thank you for bringing peace to our streets and to our homes, even if it's only temporary. Your sacrifice is known and felt and appreciated. I also want to thank the officers who were willing to sit down and share these oral histories. If you'd like to participate, please contact me through the Hey Chaplain Facebook page. If you liked what you heard here, please share this episode with a cop or someone who loves a cop. If you like this type of episode, please listen to bonus episode 2 titled My Worst Police Car, First-Hand Accounts, or bonus episode 3, My Holiday on Duty, First-Hand Accounts. You'll hear some of the same voices, and each time I do a first-hand account episode, you'll hear a few new ones as well. The views expressed here are the personal views of the hosts and our guests and do not necessarily represent the views of any law enforcement agency or its components. Thank you for listening today, and as always, pray for peace in our city.